We are happy to have some moments with Congresswoman Kristen McDonald Rivet. And I know you were already here in town, of course, and this tragedy happened within your district. What can you share with us about where things stand at this point?
So law enforcement's still processing the scene. It's going to take a while because of the fire. We're incredibly grateful for not, the FBI that's in town and taking lead on this, but the response from all over the community, all over Mid-Michigan, people that were there immediately within the hour helping out. So our township law enforcement, firefighter, I spoke with the chief of both yesterday. Their people have been amazing. The first responders were there within less than a minute of the 911 call. It's just been an amazing thing, but this is just from a processing standpoint, it's going to take a while because of the fire.
When things like this happen, and the governor said, we here in Michigan know this pain all too well with everything that's happened, the school shootings, the stores, unfortunately the places of worship. When you hear about this, just in your gut, what are you feeling?
So I'm a mom. My husband and I have raised 6 kids in Mid-Michigan. Our own faith is very important to us, and I often spend Sundays worshiping in churches around the district because I think it's really important if you're representing people to worship with them. So when I got the text on Sunday morning, it shatters something inside you. So my first response was one of sadness and concern and grief. And my second response was, why do we keep living through this over and over and over again? We reached a place that schools, churches, block parties are dangerous or make people feel like they are in danger. I mean, we know Grand Blanc Township, these are safe communities, right? But I think a feeling of safety for people in general, not just here but around the country, is really on edge. And it's time for a bigger conversation.
I was perusing, we are looking for stories to tell out of this, and I saw a gentleman posted something, and of course he was offering prayers, and he said, I guess that's all we can do. And I in the back of my mind, I thought, well, there are those who would say there's more we could do, but it always seems like that is all that we can do. How do we move forward from this? I mean, will this ever spur, more of an effort to, put forth what I think many Democrats would call sensible gun control laws?
So, I have to start from I will never understand why Sandy Hook wasn't the thing that changed everything. And the fact that we moved on from Sandy Hook and we're still seeing, obviously Sandy Hook wasn't the first mass shooting, but it was the one in folks' memory that just sparks the most pain. And I think there is, of course, a conversation we can have about legislation for gun violence prevention. We moved that in Michigan. The gun safe storage bill was mine, or personally authored that one. We have red flag laws here. We have background checks here. So and I'm not saying that there's not more that we can do, because there absolutely is, but it's more than that. And that's where I think it's time for this good, strong look in the mirror as a country. Because this is uniquely American. And we have to look at challenging, so yes, it's a mental health crisis. It absolutely is a mental health crisis, but it's also the way that we talk to each other and the culture that has come into our public dialogue, and I'm not speaking just to politics here, of I am right, they're the problem, they're the enemy, the things that divide us and are causing a lot of hate and division, and a walk away from our core values of community and love and togetherness. We know there are things we all agree on. Nobody wants another child to die. Nobody wants another mass shooting. We can agree on that. And I think we have to start to come together as a community, and the nation needs to do this, but we can do this here in our corner of the world, and we can do this in Michigan, where we say we're going to forge a path forward, and we're going to set a tone for solving difficult problems, but by not doing it by vilifying one another. And I think that's possible.
It seems like everything these days, there's a line, and you're either on this side or this side, and there's really no middle. What are you hearing from your colleagues across the country who, this is happening in communities across the country, unfortunately. What are you hearing from them about, when this happened on Sunday, did any of them call and say, okay, look, we've really got to get together and maybe pool our resources to try to get something done, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I have heard from my colleagues all over the country. I've heard from a lot of my Republican colleagues. In fact, two of the U.S. House members from Utah have reached out. Utah in particular, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church, is grieving across the country. And what I hear are a strong desire to declare that something is wrong. But I also want to say that it isn't just politics. Yes, it's Democrats and Republicans and this decades-long disagreement of how to approach the problem. The false debate of, is this access to guns, or is this a mental health crisis? Well, we all know it's probably both. But it's also a call on leaders, political, civic, community leaders, to set a tone for solving tough issues. And I hear, in the wake of this, of the outreach that I'm getting from my colleagues, both in politics and not, that they are very ready for something different.
The White House seems to be sending the message that this is another attack on Christians and Christianity. Do you think that is a fair message, or is that off the track, so to speak? I'm trying to be diplomatic, with the question, because that is the message they're sending out. This is attack on Christians. I don't know. What do you think?
LDS is a Christian church, but public comments, particularly all the way at the top, that create a setting of it's them, not us, is the core of the problem. Not specifically in this situation, but yes, in this situation, the extent to which we are not recognizing that mass shootings are often people who have deep-rooted psychological problems. Now, we don't know much about the shooter right now, so I'm not commenting on him specifically, but there is a rhetoric problem, there is a language problem that gets to social media and starts to spiral down a rabbit hole. And it grabs people with significant mental health challenges and sparks them and pushes them towards these acts of violence. So I don't think it's helpful for anyone to be putting messages out that say it's them, not us, because we are Americans and this is an American problem.
Anything else you want to add? What's your message to not just the people in the district, but just in general, coming out of this and moving forward?
I want to say that there are a lot of things that feel dark right now, and I know that. And when I'm talking to people in the district, or people that I know and love around the country, people are feeling that overwhelmingly. And there are lots of moments of warmth and hope that I think we can look to. And we can see that inside this tragedy. The response, the calls I'm getting from people all over the state that are saying, we want to help them rebuild. Commitment from a mosque in Dearborn to pledge dollars to help rebuild the church, right? This is the sort of community that I'm talking about, and we see it every day. And those are the places that I think we can hold and grow as we forge a path forward to go back to the country that cares for one another and that is not about division and is not about blaming. And I know that we can go back there because I see it every day in the actions of everybody in the community.
Without violating anyone's privacy or any confidentialities that may be involved here, have you had the opportunity to speak with any of the families of the victims?
Not yet. We're giving them their space.
Understood.
We're in communication, and we certainly will be here for the families, but they need to be. I think that it's important to give them the space to be with their family and process this. We're working at the federal level to make sure that funding that we need would pay for everything from overtime and those administrative things in dealing with this, but also we need to make sure that we are bringing in support for the families, for the people that were in the church, into the schools, into the community, and it's going to need to be here for a while. Unfortunately, there actually is a blueprint because these mass shootings happen all the time. So there's a pot of funding at the federal level to help with this, and there's a blueprint to make sure that there's still support there when the rest of the country has moved on. And we will be here when the rest of the country has moved on.
Okay. Congresswoman McDonald Rivet, thank you.
Thank you.